Welcome to the Dear Doc Podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Dear Doc Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower, and we are here in my studio in Alvin, Texas. Today, we are joined by Christopher Pyszka. Now, Chris, talk to me a little bit about what it is you do. I mean, you do patient finance, right? With PatientFi now, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I've kind of fallen into this wonderful niche area, right, with patient financing. That's been it's been absolutely incredible, especially after doing research into the product and platform. I just found that this was an awesome place to be, and it's kind of driven me into a career point where I'm now focused on being able to get the word out about PatientFi, and that's literally been everything that I've been doing.
So, the thing is, we all kind of have our individual journeys. I had a long journey before I became a dentist. And from what I understand, your journey was similar. You were in a lot of different fields before you were in patient financing. Talk to us a little bit about your path to getting to where you are today.
Man, well, it's been a long path, but I've for the better part of the last decade, I've been in finance. I grew up. My mother was an investment advisor, so I've always been around money. And over the last, let's say, 9 years in the residential mortgage space, which is where I've made my career, it's been wonderful. I mean, it's a great market. It's a booming market. However, I was introduced to this financing platform called PatientFi, and it really drew me in, and it really kind of pulled me away from that other traditional residential mortgage space and moved me into this patient financing space. Still financing, except now we're in the medical field. Now we can help people get financing they otherwise wouldn't be able to get. And that's kind of what's led me to this direction. With Corona, I feel like there was a lot of different moving pieces. And so it raised questions for me, Chris. I had to figure out what I was going to do. And, at the very beginning of the coronavirus, we were all stuck, right? We were all stuck in what felt like quicksand at that moment. And I just made a move, and I said, this is going to be it, and this is going to be incredible. And it has been, the journey's just been insane.
That's a great way, a great attitude whenever you're dealing with adversity. It was kind of like you threw your hands up and well, shit, it can't get any worse. I might as well try something new.
That's it. Like listen, I was going through a divorce last year as well. So when you talk about throwing your hands up, it was, I want to develop a new journey, right? I want to, I've conquered this space. I feel as though I'm a smart human being, and therefore I want different experiences, and, being under the same umbrella, but a different, let's say, call to action led me down this patient financing road. And, it's been amazing.
So tell me a little bit about PatientFi. What's their history? Are they a new company? I haven't heard of them before.
So PatientFi is based out of Irvine, California. Okay. Relatively new. They're about 5 years old. It's been they've really wanted to take what they have and get it out to the masses, right? And so how to do that? Well, with Corona going on, they kind of approached me and they said, hey, listen, how can you help us? How can you get this out? And, I've used Instagram, I've used Facebook. And so what they've done is they've made it where they truly are behind the patient, right? So if you can get behind what you're doing and actually follow through it, you take a look at we won't drop any names, but some larger financiers in the game, right? that care piece of things is gone. Once you get so big, you forget about the little guy, right? It's no longer those important special stories that carry you into the next threshold of the consumer, I don't know, the consumer mentality of things, right? So with PatientFi, the ability to be small and adjust to little things. For example, we had an individual that was doing the promotional financing piece of things for 0% for 6 months. And as you know, like if you miss or you're late on a payment with my competitor, you get all of this retro interest. Well, this gentleman didn't make a single payment for 6 months. And then on a 6-month, he made the lump sum payment of everything he owed. And PatientFi honored that, right? Because it's either, you need to pay off your balance in full at the end of the promotional period. And he did that. And the company got behind it and said, you know what? Fair, good game, right? You played that right. And they honored that. And so it's just little things like that shows that the company isn't out there to get you for that interest, right? They want you to get the value that you're looking for from the get-go.
Okay. So how does PatientFi work compared to, say, one of the larger competitors that charges the dentist, between 7 and 14% interest just to, be able to finance patients? What is your unique sales proposition, your USP?
So as far as what PatientFi does that's different, they're set up as a traditional loan instead of a revolving line of credit. So for your patient, there's also a positive part of that, right? Their minimum payment will never spike. It will always stay the same, right? And then at the same time, it'll actually help build their credit or help maintain their credit score. It's not on a revolving credit type platform where today you have zero balance, tomorrow you're maxed out. We already know that it's going to be X amount of payments for X amount of time to pay X amount of dollars. So what we've done is we've made a soft credit inquiry, right? That takes less than 2 minutes to be able to get approved. It's on a completely customizable platform. So we offer a range of 0 to 24 months for our promotional financing. And then we offer up to 60 months for our fixed rate financing. Okay. Now, there are certain fees that are associated with each one of those terms, the 6, 12, 18, and 24 will each have different provider fees. So some practices don't want to offer certain lengths because they don't want to pay that promotional period. Well, guess what? In our platform, whatever you want the customer to see is what they're going to see. So, if you have a client that came in for $1,000 procedure, you don't want them paying that off over 2 years. You would probably be geared toward the 6 month. So it sets that up. It's not even to give them an option to pay that over. And
you raise a really good point there. I actually had a receptionist once who financed a patient's denture, and I ended up finding out that after all was said and done, she had financed the patient for 6 years on a $1,200 denture. Oh, I was livid. So I'm glad that you guys have controls built into that keeps docs from having that happen. But hey, she closed the case. It was her kind of thing. How do you really reprimand somebody when they've just done what they think is a solid, but ends up being they just took a crap on your counter.
It's there, right? There is that option, but yeah, you definitely, another thing that people don't look at is you also, Doc, you don't want them making that payment still when they come in to get more work done.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing. Cause you know what? That can be a deterrent, right? Oh, I don't want to go see Dr. Hoffpower again. I still owe for the last procedure. And so mentally that can play games. And so, we want to make sure that you're aligning those payment plans in order to get them back into the chair so that you can then again, have a fresh slate to work with, and they're not going to be thinking about an old payment platform.
So real quick, just so that people do know, PatientFi is a sponsor of the Business of Dentistry and the Dear Doc podcast. FCC rules say that we have to let people know about that. But the reason that I brought these guys on and even talked to them to begin with was because I felt like they offered something a little bit new and a little bit different than what was out there already. So how far down do you guys go whenever you're financing someone? What type of credit scores can you finance, and what amounts can you finance them for?
So I have some special news for you, my man, that you haven't heard yet, that I had just heard. So we have been tinkering with things, and I am delighted to tell you that we are now approving as low as 580.
Not bad.
Just heard this out yesterday. So, so we are, as Corona and COVID had hit, and a lot of credit places are trying to reel themselves in, we are expanding ourselves. We found that this is an opportunity to be able to really get our name out there and do well. And so, I tell people to keep in mind low 600s. Let's not really think that everybody with the 580 is going to get approved. It's actually a proprietary equation that they use to underwrite the files. Now, I tell people, don't be surprised if somebody with a 600 credit score gets approved, but also don't be surprised if somebody with a 620 might not, right? Mm-hmm. So because of the equation, it's not strictly FICO based. So that's what's allowing us to get into those 500 credit scores. And we had loaned up to $30,000. So 500 to 30,000. Now that's for the grand scheme of things. If, for example, you have a patient that has a $50,000 or $40,000 job, just give us a call. It's going to take a little bit longer than the 2-minute underwriting process, but we're going to see if we can help you out.
Fantastic. So when we're reviewing this, so what a lot of banks do, what a lot of lenders do is they actually adjust their minimum number that they're going to approve on the fly. And the reason that they do that is if they get more people who default during a certain month, they'll raise their number up. If they get less people that default during that month, they'll bring their number down. And it's basically a balancing act. So what I find with a lot of companies is that they'll say they approve a 650, but really they're only approving 700s or 750s that particular month. And the people I'm talking about. So whenever you guys are trying to finance something, and because I've kind of recently, as Chris knows, done a very deep dive into finance for patients so that I can understand the business better. Don't be surprised if your big box lenders are approving less and less people this year than they did in previous years, because there's a lot more defaults this year. And so they've all raised that minimum number. They still tell you it's a 650, but they've all kind of bumped it up to the 700, 720 range. And why that's important is because half of the United States has a credit score of 650 or 640, I believe, actually. What is it? The mean credit score across the nation is 640. 640. And 90% of people in the United States have a 540 or higher. Now, obviously, people under a 540 are absolutely not. You can't loan them money. You just can't. You have to almost.
You can't even give them a 20 spot.
you have to almost work hard at getting under a 500. I mean, you got to put some effort into that.
Oh yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you have found so far as your efforts in this finance space go. What you found working with dentists. What have you found that they need the most? And maybe something they don't even know they need that's missing in their program for financing patients.
So here's something that I tell people, I'm in a very unique space where I can look you in the eye like I'm doing right now. And I can tell you that I can help you without costing you a red cent. Now, when you're talking about the whole patient financing spot in a whole, I will tell you that PatientFi isn't going to be the end all be all. And I don't want it to be. I want to come at you straight and give you an honest, outlook on everything. There are going to be some things that a medical credit card might be better to use for, right? We are more specific toward a larger, 10, 15, $20,000 deal where we can save you money and then also be able to get the majority of people accepted. So don't get rid of anybody, right? You shouldn't have to have any kind of exclusive deal with any kind of patient financing platform. You should be able to use all of them, right? Because we want to make sure that your chair is filled, that you're getting business and whatever it is getting filled. So I'm not telling you that there are companies out there that won't approve something that we won't. I know that there's a very, very, very good chance that if we didn't, they're not going to get approved anywhere else. I'm that confident in our thing. But, with having a soft credit pull, it's not going to affect their credit. So there's definitely a way you go about it, right? You can run them through PatientFi. If they get approved, wonderful. If they don't, that you have other places that you can go.
And you didn't just
haven't
hurt
had
their
their credit
chances.
dinged.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
If only someone were to create a marketplace for dentists where they could just run one application and just kind of waterfall it through all the different lenders and just find a good solution for their patients in under 3 minutes. Wouldn't that be amazing?
One-stop shop. Would be
maybe someone will hear us talking about it here on this show and put something like that together. Maybe
sometimes that happens. Huh?
Well, Chris, it's been great getting to visit with you today. Before we go, I want you to talk a little bit about just kind of a funny story. This is kind of how we met. Is going to this Smiles at Sea thing. We had kind of had a phone introduction before then. We met in person over there at the, I guess it's Dental Festival. It's the Dental Festival because it wasn't Smiles at Sea. It wasn't a ship this time. But tell everyone about your kind of your struggle getting there and everything that happened, because you gave a great speech on that during the vendor fair.
Yeah. So I just started this business. And like I said, I went into 2020, not really expecting much, right? I was in the middle of a divorce last year. We had Corona hit, so we were all locked down. And I was kind of, PatientFi was delivered to me via a good friend of mine and said, hey, take a look at this. I looked at it and I fell in love with it. And when I do something, I am 100%. I have to get behind it. When I get behind it, it's go, go, go. And that's exactly what I did. However, we're stuck in a pandemic. I'm starting a brand new company, and divorces aren't cheap. So it left me in a situation where I didn't really have the money I needed to be able to get this out or to attend the dental festival or Smiles at Sea. And I had met Dr. Holmes via Clubhouse, and I think I've seen her on your Clubhouse, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And so ran into her, met her, reached out to her and said, hey, I'd love to, speak at Smiles at Sea. You think that'd be possible? And I thought she said yes. I thought that there was yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So, and I didn't realize how big this thing was, by the way. So a couple of weeks go by and I was like, man, I got to grab that dental festival ticket, the Smiles at Sea ticket. I go online and I book the $150 guest ticket because I wasn't taking any CE. So I didn't feel like I needed to pay for CE if I wasn't taking it. And so I get a call the next day and like, hey, who are you a guest of? And I was like, nobody. And they're like, well, you're going to need to pay the full ticket. And so ended up buying the full ticket. Fast forward a little bit.
Now, for those of you who haven't gone, the full ticket is so that you can attend the festival, which Chris didn't know at the time.
Yes. Yeah. So there's there's guest ticket and then there's the whole kit and caboodle, right? And it's a little bit more expensive. So I had called Anissa back and I said, hey, Anissa, it's like, I just want to make sure that we're chatting because, the cost just went up for me. And she's like, oh no, you need to talk to Elijah Desmond. And I was like, all right, send Elijah over, And so messaged Elijah, and he sent me a video, and it just showed all of the perks of being a vendor there. And then the ticket price came, and they said it was $4,000. And I was like, holy smokes. And then I just messaged Elijah, and I said, look, Elijah, this would be amazing. I would absolutely love to do it. Unfortunately, I can't right now. I will on the next one, but can I work for you? Can I do something for you? If you're South Florida local, which he is, like I'll go up there and work a few hours a day to be able to earn this ticket. I know the value it is to meet people like yourself, Dr. Hoffbauer, and Elijah and Anissa. I mean, there's so much value in it. And so he said I could work the event. So I was beyond excited that I was going to be able to work this event and be around you guys. And that Sunday, this was a Thursday, and on Sunday I ended up at the Hard Rock Hollywood with some friends. And I was on my way out, whatever. We had a couple drinks, and I put $100 in the machine, and I hit it for $5,000. And I was like, holy smokes, this is awesome. And then she came over to grab this ticket, and she started to walk away. And before she got 5 steps away, it hit it again for $14,000. And I just seeing those numbers on that machine, nobody wins in those places. So
right.
the fact that I had all this money, I went home, and first thing in the morning, I messaged Elijah and I said, hey, I'm in. Do you take cash? And he said, absolutely. And, that's how this got where it was. And I really think, coming on this podcast, being able to work side by side with you and call you and ask you questions, even about my own teeth, as we did yesterday, it's just nice. I mean, the people in this industry are just incredible. So when you sign up for PatientFi, it's signup.patientfi.com. It's a really short web form that you need to fill out. Under the referral code, put referral code as Hoff, HOFF, and you're going to be able to see some incredible new pricing that we just launched.
I twisted
yesterday.
his arm just a little bit for you guys. So you guys are going to get better pricing than just about anyone. So Chris, it was great meeting you at the festival and great getting to know you. Looking forward to working with you in the future.
Man, so, I'm excited.
Do you have any final words that you'd like to tell our listeners?
I do. I want every one of you to be very lucky for the amount of work and time that Dr. Hoffbauer puts into this podcast. I mean, look at this. I'm just looking at this whole setup he's got here, and I am in awe of it. I feel bad that I just got the little painting behind, but let me tell you, very briefly, look at that. Very briefly, I had an opportunity to meet Dr. Hoffbauer, and I've continued to grow on that relationship. And I just want to say thank you for being so welcoming to the industry, welcoming to information for yourself. There's so much to learn, and it's just really exciting being here on this stage with you, and calling you a friend and being able to ask you some questions when need be. So thank you very much for what you do, and I love this ride. Let's get it.
Always a pleasure. And thanks for coming on the show and sharing with us what you do. So guys, you've wasted another perfectly good half an hour listening to the sound of my voice droning on. Thanks for joining us. And I hope you got some real value out of this. I hope that PatientFi is something that you might use in your practice and might help your patients to get the work that they need and deserve. So for now, this is Doc Hoff from my studio here in Alvin, Texas, signing off, wishing you a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.